Okay. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for coming tonight. I'd like to call tonight's meeting of the Vail School District Governing Board to order at 7:05 p.m. And would you please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. First item on our agenda is approval of minutes from the January 23rd, 2024 meeting of the Vail School District Governing Board. Is there a motion to approve? Motion to approve. Mrs. Anderson moves.
Seconded.
And Mr. Buster seconds. I'll go ahead and call for the question. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not seeing any, the motion carries. Next item on the agenda is general functions, and we'll start with staff, student, and community recognitions. Mr. Bruce.
Thank you, President Tippett, members of the board. We don't have any special announcements this evening, but we do have several recognitions in both school sites and then district-wide. We'll start with Mrs. Margaret Stewart, followed by Mr. Chris Widosh.
Thank you, President Tippett, Mr. Cruz, the members of the board. I'm sorry I've not been here for a while, so I just kind of have a long list. And before I started, I just wanted to say I came in and this young man here was smiling so nice. And so I stood up and I said, "Hi, I'm Margaret." And he said, "I know, you used to be my principal." It's Mr. Buster's son, who is also a nurse. So good things happen from chronic medicals. Awesome, young man. I appreciate being here tonight. I'd like to take the time to recognize the parents and the teachers of our PTA. Kaylin Metter and Jen Edwards lead our PTA. Michelle Staniszewski and Nicole Lopez are also members of the leadership team. And they can be found in the evening, in the morning, setting up food for us. And it's not just here's some donuts, it's decorated with all kinds of little party planning kinds of thing. And we really appreciate it. When I told them that I wanted to get a 3-wheel bike and I wanted to call it the Joyride and I wanted to ride it around campus with snacks for the teachers, they went out and bought me one. And then they took it to the bike shop to get it all fixed up and looking really pretty. Also wanted to recognize Allie Berryman, Kathy Fitchner, who has not had people at my school for like 7 years. Chris Hacht, Charity Ridgeway, and Felicia Poe, because they do the Sunshine Day at our school and they bring all kinds of treats for us. And so that puts a lot of pounds on us and also is very delicious. And then I wanted to recognize Brianne Brace, Lisa Locke, Shawnee Peterson, Karen Hall, Heather Deal, Sarah Hammer, Bridget Evans, Josh Little, and Tara Waquez. That's a lot of teachers to come every time we have a PTA meeting, and I really appreciate their support for the PTA. I wanted to recognize Bridget Evans and Bridget Evans and Sarah Hammer, who are our counselor and our STC. And today was just a shining example of that, but they take care of those kids who just need so much care. And it's almost sort of heartbreaking for them to be all day sort of counseling children and helping parents and coordinating services. I don't know what we would do without them. And then I wanted to recognize Caitlin Allen and Michelle Woods. I can always count on them to listen and support us. And they have a hard job and they deal with hard cases all day long. And they always are so patient and give me all the time I need. I'm sorry. I wanted to recognize Matt Beam. I think he's outside, but he is amazing at his job. I know you all know this. Always available for everything, even if it's a little thing or a big thing. Always listens, always follows through, always checks up to see that things got done. And I really appreciate him. I wanted to recognize Katie Dabney, who never makes me feel that my 100 questions to her are dumb. And every time I've got a new situation, I call her. She never makes me feel like, oh, you should have known that. And why are you asking me this question? I appreciate that. And then we had the opportunity to offer Starbase this year. And the only way we could do it is if a teacher stepped up to be the sponsor. And Andy Williams stepped up for us. And when you go in there and you see the kids working with some of our military staff, parents, and with the Starbase folks, and they're just having a good time building stuff and using critical thinking skills. And I also want to recognize Breanne Brace. I know it's a long way from spelling bee, but she's our spelling bee coordinator. And we all know that is not a task that everyone wants to step up to. And she does it with such thoroughness and she just does a great job. And then Debbie Fitzpatrick, who's led our science fair team this year, and she always takes kids to SARSA. They always do well. Some of the kids who just struggle to succeed in other areas succeed there. And I just really appreciate all the hard work that takes. And then finally, I want to recognize Chris Constantine, because each year, every concert we do, he brings the most incredible group of band kids and orchestra kids. Our orchestra has grown from 3 kids to 12 kids. And when you see him perform, or when you see his children perform and him leading them in their performance, you're going to see what an extraordinary job he does and how he really gets those kids ready for high school band. So thank you for taking the time to listen to all my recognitions. And thank you, Mr. Buster, for your wonderful.
Thank you, Mrs. Stewart. Mr. Widosh, followed by Mrs. Wood.
President Tippett, Mr. Caruth, and members of the governing board, good evening. It's my honor to first recognize Amanda Calkins, Cena Valley site tech, as well as Haley Stromberg and Maggie Gamble, our TATs, or teacher assistant techs, for facilitating an outstanding family tech night for both Sonita Valley and Rincon Vista. The event was well attended by families and included interesting and informative activities around tech for all ages, including topics such as digital citizenship, online safety, and coding. We've had a lot of conversation about our technology values, and a lot of work's gone into that. And, this really aligned with that push, as our digital landscape is evolving. This was especially important. So I just want to recognize those 3 ladies for that, because it was really meaningful to a lot of families and appealed to, students who are just starting or in kindergarten up to 8th graders, and had a variety of activities to meet all needs of all families. I would also like to recognize Tiffany Perry, our EL teacher and reading specialist. Recently, we had ADE come do an audit of our EL programs across the district, and Tiffany just went above and beyond to get our teachers and our staff ready to go for that, under the guidance of Heather Harrington, who supported her as well. In addition, Tiffany, if you know her, she's one of these people who constantly smiling, just loves being at Sonita Valley, and will go out of her way to cover a class if she can, cover a duty. She loves crosswalk. She's out there smiling every morning. So just want to recognize both her genuine positivity, as well as how she helped us with our EL audit. And then finally, I want to recognize Shelley Gray, school psychologist at Copper Ridge in Sycamore. So Shelley stepped in to help at Sonita Valley with evaluations and been a critical support to our special education team. Our psychologist was on maternity leave for a long period of time, and we needed support. And Shelley has come in and just supported us and supported our psychologist and our entire team. Even though she's got a full caseload, both at Copper Ridge and at Sycamore. So just really grateful for the help that she provided us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Widosh. Ms. Wood.
President Tippett, Superintendent Caruth, the governing board members, good evening. I wanted to start by recognizing the Health Services Department, Christy Wissinger, Daniela Franks, and Fawn Slade. This group has been incredibly helpful and really supportive to our special education department. We've been able to form a really good partnership that's allowed our special ed teachers to have the support they need for some of our students that have really high needs, high medical needs. This team's knowledge and guidance has been a huge resource for our department, and we really appreciate their assistance. My second recognition is for Travis Thatcher. He's our Assistive Technology Coordinator for Special Education. Travis recently hosted an all-day professional development for about 20 different teachers from all across the city. They came out here to Vail, and Travis guided them in creating some hands-on tools that they were able to walk away with and use the next day in their classrooms. Travis received excellent feedback from the teachers. Some of them said it was the best training they've ever been to. And we just appreciate everything that he's done. It's been So exciting to watch him grow in his position and just the expertise that he brings, and our staff gets to benefit from that every day. And my final recognition is for our related service providers, our speech therapists, occupational therapists, and physical therapists. They've been experiencing some growing caseloads, but with that, they continue to provide really high quality services, and they're keeping up with their Medicaid billing. This is an additional funding source for the district. It requires a lot of paperwork on their end, but they are really diligent about it. They've worked really hard to make sure they're not only getting that paperwork done, but prioritizing the students and their needs. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Wood. I have a couple other district-wide recognitions. The first is I just want to acknowledge all of our staff who participated in and helped make successful parent-teacher conferences. That is from the teachers, obviously, who coordinated and set up and reached out to parents and to make those successful events. The administrators who helped, and also just to all of our support staff who make our schools look great and warm and welcoming places. So it's not lost that especially the spring parent-teacher conference is not maybe is quite the priority when you already know your teacher and those things, but in many ways that second parent-teacher conference is a time where we can really develop relationships and dig into the important aspects of a young person's life with their families. And so it's just set up for success. And last, but absolutely not least, I just want to acknowledge the Ocotillo Ridge Community Services Program and the preschool program in particular. They're here in the audience today under the direction and leadership of Francesca Lamonaco for earning a 4-star rating through Quality First. And we talk a lot about, in fact, knock on wood, or I'm knocking on wood, this Thursday and Friday we'll learn about our schools that are gone through the A+ process. At the preschool realm, really what the Quality First process looks like is a parallel to that for the preschool world. And it's just it's a testament to their work to make that quality happen and deliver that high quality service to the families, to the children and families in that of the Ocotillo Ridge community. So thank you all for making that happen. And just a fun note, as I'm looking at Fran and her husband, we were at Ocotillo Ridge earlier this day for our leadership meeting. That school opened in 2007, and I might have twisted the Monaco's arms to say it's because our kids were in preschool together. Our kids were in preschool who are adults. They're adults. We'll just leave it at that. Mostly they act like now. And we were in preschool together, and I said, "Hey, you guys would be great to help start this new school." And so they were a part of that planning committee that helped lead that, and to know that Fran is now leading 4-star high quality preschool program on that campus. I don't know that any of us could have envisioned that when we started that process, but to know what that has become is really special. So just want to honor you and your team for doing that. That's all I have for staff student recognitions.
Thank you, Mr. Drew. Next item on the agenda is called to the public. At this time, the board may consider and discuss comments and concerns from the public. Those wishing to address the governing board on items not on tonight's agenda might do so at this time. Speakers are requested to hold their comments to 3 minutes. In accordance with Arizona Open Meeting Law, board members may not respond, comment, or ask questions of speakers regarding issues not on tonight's agenda. I do have one request to speak tonight from Geraldine Kleber.
Good evening. Sebastian had to do his class selection a few weeks ago. When he went looking for the classes that were recommended to him by his counselor, when he signed up to be a Bobcat Scholar, he couldn't find some. He asked his counselor why he couldn't find AP Calculus, and she told him it wasn't available. He should sign up for dual enrollment calculus instead. He came home and was very upset as he was following a pathway that would allow him to get as many AP classes available to succeed in schooling. Sebastian and I had a meeting with Mrs. Middleton and Mrs. Alvarado regarding this. The conclusion of this meeting was that the budget is not there for all the AP classes. I've spoken to other parents and they have told me that their children are also interested in AP Calculus. They are all confused as it's still on the school's website as one of the AP classes available. The teacher that previously taught the class still teaches at Cienega, so there's no need to hire a new teacher. Jen, your daughter's a Bobcat Scholar, so I'm sure that she told you about this. We were also told Cienega only has 14 AP classes now. Website still shows 19 as of today. Yet, when Sebastian started Cienega, there were 22, the most offered in the district. That was the reason he chose Cienega. Catalina Foothills has 25 AP classes available. We cannot compete with Catalina nor many other schools around the country. Why was I told by Mrs. Middleton she doesn't have the money to have an AP calculus class? And I do not blame her for this, as the budgets are not done by her. And yet, Savannah has no issues of funding with a student to teacher ratio of 11:1. How can we afford an entire school of 9 different grades with an average of 11 students? And as of right now, there's 9 in the 8th grade, but we cannot afford to have a basic AP course that has been offered for decades. This doesn't pass the SNP test. I was told that we had dual enrollment calculus, but as you all must already know, most elite colleges will not accept any dual enrollment classes, as they're not as rigorous as AP classes. Dual enrollment classes are inferior and easier than AP classes, making them more attractive for students to get the same GPA boost that AP classes give without the same level of difficulty. Also, they're mostly only accepted in the same state the student attended high school, as it is usually a state community college with not the same standards as nationally recognized universities. I am happy to share my research with you. Please email me for the information. You all have my contact information. I was called foolish and bullish by John Aiken a year and a half ago for standing up for our kids and their education. And no board member nor the superintendent has ever apologized, contradicted, or disagreed with that. Jen and Ed are the only ones that came up to me after that incident. I am here standing up for our kids again. Do not dumb our kids down and take away their academic education. You like to say, because kids. Prove you actually believe it and mean it. Make all AP classes again available as promised to all our Bobcat scholars. Thank you.
Appreciate your comments. Mr. Kruth, can you make notes to follow up, please?
Yes.
Okay, not seeing anybody else for call to the public. I'll go ahead and move on to correspondence and reports. Mr. Kruth, superintendent's report.
Thank you. I'd be remiss if I didn't say something in the superintendent's report that this is Fail Pride Day week. We have, which sounds like an oxymoron, but it's actually a 3-day event beginning, as you well know, with our volunteer luncheon on Thursday, our staff appreciation luncheon on Friday, and then Fail Pride Day on Saturday. So just want to acknowledge that that's happening. You all will be involved, I know, but it's if of the things that are happening this week, that's our dominating event. So most other things are secondary to that this week. And so that's all I have for a superintendent's report.
That's actually a lot to report.
Yeah.
So we'll go ahead and move on to board reports. Do any board members have reports at this time? Mr. King has a report.
All right, so I got to go out to Corona Foothills and hang out with Debbie Fitzpatrick and got to judge the middle school science fair contest. And I wanted to take a minute to recognize those kids that actually went forward. Emma with her magnetic train, Mackenzie with the fold-go bag, which is a bag for a table for the wheelchair. Liam, the planting for the future with his little hydroponics. That was actually really cool. You got to watch that one. Winnie with Keep It Cool, the bathtub water stopper. AJ Gallo and Trevor Peterson with their survival game. Robert with this Ice to Meet You, which was actually kind of entertaining. Michaela with the genre of emotions, music with test. That was a really good one. Corbin with he actually made a telescope, a small telescope. And small telescope seeing big things. Maddox with the micro fridge was a good one. Laura with the forensics on the fingerprints. This was actually one of my favorite ones because it actually tied into kind of some of my background. And was able to give her a little bit of information to help boost her, make her project a little bit better. And it was the hereditary passing on of fingerprint characteristics. So that was a really good one. Cody with the future fuel, the biofuel, which was actually another really good one. Very interesting. Also, I attended the Parents' Day at the Capitol with Andrado's Rock Band and Cienega's JROTC. And I got to be the unofficial tour guide. So I got to show them around the old Capitol. So while everything was getting set up, we got to see give me a second. The chairman of the Senate Education Committee, Ken Bennett, and our representative for this area, Senator David Gowan. They actually stopped by and got to talk to the kids and everything else, got to hang out with the rock band as well. And then got to attend ASBA's Advocacy Day yesterday and got to see a lot of the new stuff that was out there. And again, Senator Gowan came in, and for the first time in a few years, we've actually had somebody from this area to come in and talk to the School Board Association. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. King. Any other board reports? Mrs. Sanders?
Yeah, so I had the opportunity to do a reality check lunch at Cienega High School. Just really enjoyed that, got to know a few of the staff there and meet them that I hadn't before, and just hear so many good things that are going on there and just spending time on that campus. I, as a parent, had parent-teacher conferences, and we were a family that started Esmond when they opened, and I just had my last parent-teacher conference at Esmond Station this week. And I'm a little, I guess last week, I'm a little, I was a little sad walking out. And so I think I just felt so grateful. I was just feeling so grateful for the experiences my kids have had and will continue to have, but we are coming to an end at a school, and that's a little bit sad for me with my 8th grader. So, and then got to have parent-teacher conferences at Cienega too. But I'm just grateful for all the teachers, and just want to say thank you to those who teach and work with our kids. It's also a lot of CTE like competitions going on right now, and so that's been kind of fun to hear about all of that. My daughter got to compete in a job interview competition. And I'd say had a lot of fun with that. I'm not sure that's the right word, but she enjoyed it. It was good. That was with FFA. And then just a congratulations to Micah Mountain and Cienega's choir, Anka Michelle and Jeremy Vega. Their choirs performed up at the Jazz Band competition in Flagstaff that happens every year. And both schools received superiors for their choirs, and they did really well. So yeah, thanks.
Any other board reports? Mr. Bester?
Yes, well, let's see. Had the opportunity to attend the reality check lunch with Mr. Caruth and the fine educators at Desert Willow on January 26th. Really cool. Sitting down, breaking bread, talking to educators that are just so passionate, compassionate about what they do for our kids each and every day. Got the opportunity to meet with a young lady that is a 3rd generation Vail Unified School District educator. She talked about the influence of Vail Unified School District, and of course her mother and her grandmother on taking this path, contributing to the community, contributing to youth. It's just a beautiful story to sit down and hear that story firsthand from a young educator. It was really great. Beyond that, I did attend the STEM night at Esmond Station on the 26th. And so thanks to Jamie Henson for the invitation. But of course, those that know me know I am a geek when it comes to science and technology and so on and so forth, as the entire board laughs. But I was in my element. But I have to say that the big thing for me is not only to see young people embracing technology, embracing sciences and but it's also when you see the parents, oh, Virginia, I want to play, I want to check this out too. And so I say to all educators, you're not just inspiring young people, you're also inspiring different generations of parents and grandparents that get the opportunity to attend, and they see that involvement and they want to become involved too. So thank you for lighting the torch across generations. That is really outstanding. And then, of course, we had the tour as a board of the TMC Rincon Hospital. Great opportunity, just a phenomenal hospital. Obviously, that's going to be the catalyst of taking care of our community, those that are ill and infirmed. It's a really beautiful facility. When you get the opportunity, please, I offer you the opportunity to go and volunteer at that facility. They are looking for volunteers. They are looking for medical staff. So you are encouraged to be a part of that piece of our community. And I guess on that same note, I want to extend that olive branch right back out to Margaret Stewart. My son is in the audience, Isaiah Buster, and he's an accomplished now nurse and ICU nurse over at the VA. And I often told the entire community that the reason that my children have done so well in this society is because of phenomenal educators like yourself. So on behalf of me and my family, thank you, and thank those outstanding educators that take care of our children each and every day. And of course, happy Vail Pride Day.
Okay, next time I'm going before him. I don't want to. Well, I'm going to keep it really brief because most things have been mentioned already. I just also really quickly want to mention that I went to the Star Party briefly at the beginning. Ms. Henson and Ms. Slade did an amazing job creating partnerships within the community. That entire NPR was full of just different organizations, U of A, different STEM organizations. They did such a great job, and then they had things set up out on the field as well. I also appreciated that TMC tour with Mr. Carney. I also want to thank Cindy Peterson for setting that up and helping us be aware of the resources that are in our community. And then I just also want to thank teachers and staff for the time that they spent at Parent Teacher Conference. I know it's a long 2 days, but it is so meaningful for parents to be able to sit down and hear about their kids from somebody else's eyes. And it's just always amazing to me. These teachers have a lot of kids in their classrooms, but yet they seem to know our kids so well. I just appreciate everything they do. And so just thank you for that time spent with parents.
Thank you for that. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the next item on our agenda, which is the consent agenda. All items listed below are consent matters and will be considered by one motion at this time. There will be no discussion of consent items. Any board member may remove an item from the consent agenda by request. All items not accepted and approved as part of the consent agenda will be considered individually. Do any board members wish to pull an item? Not seeing any. I'll go ahead and accept a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion to approve as presented.
We have to make
Oh,
recommendation.
I will accept a motion. I mean, a recommendation from Mr. Ruth. I do this like consistently. I have to put like a stop sign right.
Well, we got it. We get into the rhythm right after this one, though. It's recommended that the Vail School District Governing Board approve all items on the consent agenda as presented. Now you have a motion.
Thank you. May I get a motion to approve?
Madam President, motion to approve as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Buster.
I'll second.
And Mrs. Pratt, seconds. All right, I'll go ahead and call for the question. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not seeing any, the motion carries. Next item on the agenda is old business. And we will be discussing Vail Early College 2024-2025 student calendar. Mr. Cruz.
So this is the student calendar for Vail Early College, which is held at Pima Community College, which is a slate of dual enrollment courses that's offered to all of our students. And just want to note, we had 2 students who took dual enrollment classes. One went to Harvard last year, another went to MIT. And the coursework here, or the calendar here, we bring to you at this point because that's when Pima Community College releases their calendar, and we can't. Our students follow that calendar, respective. Because this particular group of students attend school at Pima Community East campus. So we studied this at the last meeting, bringing it back for you for action this meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Caruth. I will go ahead and accept a motion. Or did you make the motion already?
I will make the thank you. I didn't, that was my fault this time. I recommend that the Vail School District Governing Board approve the 24-25 Vail Early College student calendar as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Caruth. I'll accept a motion.
So moved.
Mr.
Seconded.
King moves and Mr. Buster seconds. Any comments or questions on the calendar? Nope. Yep. So we've had the opportunity to study this before, and it's fairly straightforward. Thank you. I'll go ahead and call for the vote with no other comments or questions. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not seeing any, the motion carries. Next item on the agenda is new business, and we'll start with high school literature sets. Mr. Caruth.
Thank you, President Tippett, members of the board. Mrs. Penn.
Good evening, President Tippett, Mr. Cruz, members of the board. As we have been doing each year since the 2008-2009 school year, a group called our High School Literature Review Committee met and have reviewed 16 titles. We're bringing 8 of those forward this evening. Just as a reminder, this is a pretty thorough process. The first step is that the teacher identifies a piece of work that they would like to use for instruction in the classroom. So we take that to their ITL. With the approval and support of their ITL, it's taken to the principal. With the approval and support of the principal, it's forwarded to the literature review committee, where we have at least 2 and try to have 3 readers on each of the selections. Those are read and then brought to discussion at the committee meeting. We talk through any hotspots. We talk through the literary value. We talk through any concerns that we might have. Those books are then taken back to the principals, who are asked to take them to the site council for the site council review. If there are any concerns with the site council, those are brought forward. Finally, those titles are brought to the board for approval. If those titles are approved by the board, then the teachers are they're required to provide parents with opt-in permission for their students to participate in that literature selection. And on the form that is sent to parents, it will identify the summary of the book. It will identify the standards that the book is used to address, and it will identify a section that we call significance, which has an opportunity for the teacher to provide information to families about why it is that they selected that particular book. And then any hotspots are noted. Parents then have the option of saying yes or no. And if parents decide that they do not want that particular, their students to participate in that work, then different literary work will be provided for them. This process has been in place since the 2008-2009 school year, with a little bit of adjustment specifically around the opt-in piece. And we adjusted that several years ago when the legislation changed. We had language specifically around some content in books and how parents are to be provided the opportunity to opt in. And So the books that you see on the list tonight have gone through that process up to the point of board approval. Tonight it is a study item on the agenda, and I would be happy to answer any questions.
Any comments or questions? Mrs. Pratt?
I just want to say thank you. I know this is a lot of work, both for the committee and for teachers submitting, to be able to provide all of this information both to the board and to parents. So thank you. It really does make a difference and it helps. So thank you very much for that time and effort.
Any other comments or questions? Mr. King?
I wanted to kind of parrot Ms. Pratt as well and say thank you for putting these out, because these, in November when I got all these books, it was a little overwhelming at first, but making it through, it was actually pretty good. There was actually some really good books in there, and I'm looking forward to hearing more.
Any other comments or questions about this particular set of books? Not seeing any. I really appreciate the opt-in stance that we have taken across the board, just looping parents a little bit closer to their kiddos' education, and for parents who really are already naturally highly in tuned. It's probably not information that they don't know, and for parents who are maybe a little less tuned into exactly what's happening with their education, it brings this right to them, and gives them the opportunity to engage in their child's education, I think, in a really impactful way. It also helps teachers to be really thoughtful about those selections that they're making, and really have great instructional ideas behind the study of that particular book, as well as inspired ways to inspire the love of literacy in our kiddos. So I appreciate the process that we have, and I don't have any questions about these books. Any other comments, questions? All right. We'll go ahead and move on to the next item, which is the discussion and possible action to approve a resolution to purchase real estate as site for construction for a new K-8 school. Mr. Burch.
Thank you, President Tippett and members of the board. This item is before you for consideration and action. As you are aware, and we brought before the board as part of the regular agenda, we are under the development process for a new K-8 school, actually phase 1 of a K-8 school in the Rocking K neighborhood. In order to proceed with that, we need to purchase land. We need to secure land to make that go. We have been working with the developer of that property for years on just setting aside a piece of land. We have done that with them, in coordination with them. It's a 24.87 acre parcel. And I'll show that here in just a moment as a reminder. The process for this, though, is the School Facilities Board, which is a state agency that goes through the process of reviewing the proposed parcel, and then ultimately we have been, the state has set aside funding to purchase that land. So that does not come from just local taxpayers. That comes actually out of it's a part of the statewide budget that's associated to the School Facilities Board for building and construction of new schools. So what we're actually working through here is the process of saying, here is the acreage associated with the school that we are going to do. We've done our due diligence. We have to do civil engineering. We have to do land assessment. We have to get 2 appraisals for that land, which are associated, also part of the background. Then the state will consider the lower of the 2 appraisals. for payment for that land. By the way, the developer has agreed to take the lesser of the two appraisals on that land as payment for that land. And then what we're actually bringing forward to you is a resolution that will allow us to enter into a purchase agreement. Actually, the state purchases the land, but we're considered the buyer in that regard. So it is a resolution allowing us to do that, which will allow the state school facility board to exchange the money for that land. In addition to that, so we're bringing forth the idea of the resolution. That's also a part of the background material for your review. And we're asking the board also in this action item to allow myself and or Mr. Jerry Wood, Director of Facility, to be the agents for the district that would finalize the details of those contracts with the SFB and with the developer for closing. So the land purchase is actually, I think I said 8.6, it's $5.6 million. We're asking the school facilities board for 5.8, up to 5.8, because we know that there will be some closing costs associated with the land as well. It's also worth noting, since it's a part of the background, that the school facilities board will pay for really the very basic portions of a school, but that isn't enough to cover anything other than walls and concrete floors and a few other things. And so the bond that was passed by our community in 2018, it was a $61.3 million bond package, had set aside $8.6 million of that bond package to cover the remaining costs of the future school. We're in the process of working with bond counsel to take those remaining bonds to market sometime late spring or early summer to help complete that process. So just want to paint that. And I'll just show real quick, just as a reminder, and for those who may be watching, where this land is and in location, and for some context. So the image on the left is the actual parcel that we're looking at, and you can see a portion of the spine road as it moves across. If you look at the image on the right, it is the combination of the light blue, darker blue, and green here where my cursor is going along that spine road. Currently in this area here around the KB, that is phase 1. And actually down here is phase 1 that's under construction. The road actually stops right about here. Now, if you see that where my cursor is going back and forth across the screen, the extension of the road will happen as a part of the construction process and will be undertaken by the developer to come to the end of the property. So this is the property in relationship to the overall development as it moves forward. And then on the right is the associated specific parcel that we're talking about, and the specific parcel that is described in the background documents. So with that, I'll go ahead and make the recommendation that the Vail School District Governing Board approve the resolution to purchase real estate as site for construction of a new K-8 school, and authorize the superintendent and or the director of facilities to execute the necessary documents on behalf of the district to complete the transaction for the purchase of the property, including but not limited to execution of all necessary contracts to acquire the property for the proposed purchase price, as well as all necessary related instruments as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Kruth. I'll accept a motion.
I'll motion.
Second.
Mrs. Anderson moves and Mr. King seconds. Any comments or questions? Mr. Buster.
Mr. Caruth, just for my understanding, I want to make sure it's abundantly clear that there's no new bonding required for this school or the property.
That's correct.
Excellent. Thank you.
question.
I will add, we're in in fact, I'm meeting next week with our architect and contractor, Mr. Wood. We are in the costs of construction is going up significantly, and we're still seeing the impacts of inflation there. So we're doing our best to, the current scope of the project is outside of our current budget to be, and we don't have exact figures to bring back to you at this point, but and what we might massage regarding the scope. Once our intent will be to do that both to the committee and to the board when we have a better understanding of what that looks like. But and again, this is project cost. So when I say project cost, that's everything from all of the engineers that are associated, architect, contractor, including things all the way down to purchasing desks and books. So the entirety of the project, we receive about $270 per square foot. And then for the space that we build from the state, and then the 8.6 would be in addition to that. I don't have the exact figure, but it's about another $100 a square foot on top of that. We have long lead times on things like electrical gear, as an example, and some HVAC issues. And so we're working on those things. I was telling Mrs. Stewart's in the audience tonight, but we're in a situation that feels similar to when we were building Corona Foothills as far as a bid environment, when we were doing that back in 2005. Yeah. So. Excellent.
Mr. King. Oh, okay. Any other comments or questions? All right. We appreciate the detail in the package. And without any other comments or questions, I'll go ahead and call for the vote. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not seeing any, the motion carries. The next item on the agenda is designation of directory information. Mr. Kruth.
Thank you, President Tippett and members of the board. This item is on the agenda, really is just an acknowledgement of transparency and also just acknowledgement of acknowledgement of transparency around student records, and also an acknowledgement of the time period of which we're in, where we are cleaning up and preparing forms for registration and preparation for next year. So handbooks, believe it or not, are getting all knit together for next year already. And so one of the issues so this is the time of year when, as we do that, one of the issues around student records is, first of all, it's critical for us to protect student records. And there's a lot of laws, including FERPA primarily, that designate what student records are. There is an exception to that that's titled directory information that allows for upon parent notification, certain portions of a student's record to be disclosed without having to do individual consent from the parent. They acknowledge consent for directory, what's designated as directory information on an annual basis. And then if they do that, then a school or district can release what is under a directory information. A parent can also opt to restrict the information provided under directory assistance or prohibit it. One issue for us specifically related around that is our ability to track when a parent says, I want restricted information or no information in Power School, when the form goes in, how does a school readily pull that information so that we know when not to do that? So this process that we're bringing forward also will help clean up that process on the back end for us, so that it'll be much easier when a parent chooses a restriction for us to be able to know that and be consistent in applying that criteria. The other issue that we're addressing is student record is comprised of information that can identify a student. And one issue that we've had that occurred last semester was around parent email addresses and just parent email addresses, no other identifying information. Feel that it's prudent, and we just want to frankly, close that loophole to not release parents trust us with their information, and it's assumed that they do that, and we want to honor that. So we're actually tucking parent email addresses in under student records, even though that's not required by law in this form, and making that clear and clear and under what conditions. So that's the process. The board's role by policy and by law is to approve policy. This isn't actually approving a policy. We're bringing this forward again as an issue of transparency to approve a form. And in this case, this form also tucks in as an exhibit under policy JR student records. So it'll exist as an exhibit in our policy manual, and will be the form that is used at sites to guide directory information and what directory information parents choose to have released regarding their student. Just as another note, this directory information form is a form that parents are required, we're required to provide to parents, and parents are required to sign annually, so they can change that information. The attachments here, and I know that might have been a little confusing in the background, are actually two exhibits. One is JREB, which is for K-8 students, and the other is JREC for high school students. That's the way it's listed in our policy manual. If you actually look at both documents, they're the exact same, and they're the same. We've intentionally made them the same now. They were two forms. We've collapsed the form into one. So again, to remove confusion and to help with clarity. However, in our policy, we'll still have one listed under as K-8 and one listed under as high school, although the language will remain the same. So with that, I'll go ahead and make the recommendation that the Vail School District Governing Board approve revisions to the FERPA designation of directory information exhibit JREB for kindergarten through 8th grade and exhibit JREC grades 9 through 12 as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Kruth. I'll accept a motion.
Motion.
Mrs. Anderson moves and Mrs. Pratt seconds. Any comments or questions? Mrs. Pratt?
I am just wanting to clarify, is this the actual document that parents are going to see? Okay. Yes.
Yes, Ms. Pratt.
Okay. I think it was super helpful. Sometimes people think, I don't want any of my information shared, but then when they look at the examples, so a playbill, well, yeah, put my kid in that, or put my kid in the yearbook, you know what I mean? Those kind of things. So to be able to see examples of what this is and the levels in which they may or may not be included, depending on the option that the parent chooses, I think is very helpful. So thank you for including that.
Yep. Mr. Buster?
Just for my own clarification in regards to, you said that by law, the records must be reviewed by the parents annually. But now, is that the directory information, or are those the student records?
Thank you, Mrs. Tippett. Mr. Buster, if I said that, I'm misstated. By law, we're required to provide parents with a form regarding directory information and what directory information they're comfortable with a school district releasing or not releasing without further consent. So as an example, every year when Isaiah was a student, you would have gotten a directory, you should have gotten a directory information, and you would have had the opportunity to designate, I'm okay with that, these things that information being released. You don't need to contact me anymore. So whether it's a playbill or notice in regards to athletics, or as a high school student, sharing information with recruiters, or universities, those are more high school specific examples. If you said, okay, then for that year, we don't need to contact you if we need to, or asked in those contexts to release any information. The next year rolls around, you say, you know what, I don't want that anymore. So here's a more restricted list. We haven't made it a checklist. We've just put some categories around things and what that looks like. Frankly, it's too hard to track. That's what that looks like. So every year you get a notice as a parent to fill out the directory information. Parents can change that at any time. If they, said one thing, but they want to change it, they're welcome to do it at any time. It's our responsibility, and by policy, by law, we need to notice them once a year.
Excellent. Thank you.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for a few things. Thanks for bringing it to the board. I appreciate this form. I think it'll help. I think a lot of times parents get this, they fill it out, they don't even remember that they got it, to be honest. It'll help, I think, clarify some of it. And then I also appreciate, for parents' sake, the email being included now. And so as parents, we know that is part of something that won't be shared. Yeah, so thank you. Appreciate it.
Any other comments or questions regarding the policy? So I have a question. It kind of piggybacks on Mrs. Pratt's question. This is the form that parents actually receive, but I don't see like a signature designation. Is it just digital?
Yes, it'll be digital. Mr. Breen and Mr. Breen and his team were working on a lot of what the form actually looks like, because his team that's pulling those things together. Mr. Breen, can you speak to what the signature process looks like and how that actually go out to parents now? Thank you.
President Tippett, Mr. Carruth, members of the board. Yeah, I'd love to speak to that. So the document you see here is what's actually attached in our online re-enrollment form. So our whole enrollment and re-enrollment process, whether you're a returning family or a new family, that is online and it feeds directly into our Power School student information system. So within that online form, parents will fill that out. This document is attached as a PDF so they can see the legal language there. And then those options are actually options that they can check, sort of like checkbox style within the form. And then every year when they re-enroll, it's sort of like verifying your information from the year before and anything you want to change. And so the first time you enroll as a new family, there's a lot to fill out, but every year when you return, you're sort of verifying your information, changing anything. But the actual process happens online, and then that feeds directly into our student information system.
Great.
Can I just say thank you to that too, because I don't have to write all that out for all my kids anymore. It's like my favorite thing that it like transfers over. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
I also appreciate the addition of the student and parents' email address as part of directory information. So I think that was an important addition to make. And if there's not any other comments or questions, I'll go ahead and call for the vote. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not seeing any, the motion carries. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is adjournment. I'll accept a motion.
I'll move.
Mrs. Pratt moves and Mr. King seconds. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not seeing any, the motion carries. Thank you, everybody.